We are going to discuss today's Hindu newspaper. This will cover most important topics and won't take more than 10 minutes of your time. Do not spend all your time on newspapers. Read and understand the most important topics. The first topic we are going to discuss is adverse events following immunization, AEFI. So AEFI is the studies that happen about the side effects of a vaccine. There is no such thing as a perfect vaccine which protects everyone who receives it and is entirely safe for everyone. There is a chance for some side effects like having a cold or other minor issues which will cure within a short span of time. So these side effects will vary from person to person depending upon their health conditions and other variables. So in today's newspaper you can see an article talking about adverse event following immunization data in India which showed that there is a tiny but definitive risk of thromboembolic events after administration of Covishield. It is 0.61 per million doses and in the UK it was about 4 per million doses. Thromboembolic means formation of a clot in a blood vessel which breaks loose and is carried by the bloodstream to another vessel. For example, if a clot gets stuck into the lungs, then it is called pulmonary embolism. Next, we are talking about job losses. So in any exams that you attend which involves writing an essay, it is sure that it will ask the economic impact or the impact on jobs in India after the pandemic. So the second point talks about that. Let's look at the first point, labor force participation rate. The labor force participation rate is defined as a section of working population in the age group of 16 to 64 who are currently employed or seeking employment. So it does not include people who are studying or are not actively looking for a job. And during the pandemic, the rate has gone down. The number of people looking for a job or the number of people who is currently employed has gone down. The reason for this is there are less number of jobs and people are discouraged from looking actively for it. And another data which can be used in writing essays and you should definitely remember is during 2019 to 20, there were 85.9 million salaried jobs. And as of April 2021, there were just 73.3 million. So the reduction is very visible and it is very obvious that it is due to the pandemic and many other economic factors that has affected India over the years. Next topic is cyclone classification. Cyclones are classified in different ways. One of them is based on the wind speed. The cyclone Tauktae is classified as very severe cyclonic storm. The speed is about 190 km per hour and as you can see as the sixth point, the speeds that range from 119 to 220 involves very severe cyclonic storm. So if you look at the classifications, you can see that a cyclone is classified as low pressure area when the speeds are less than 31 km per hour. Depression when it is 31 to 49, deep depression when 50 to 61 and so on. Now we come to the next topic, walk the talk on TRIPS waiver. The TRIPS waiver proposal started by India and South Africa is now backed by the US. As you all know, TRIPS means trade-related intellectual property rights. Because COVID-19 is a pandemic and is a health emergency throughout the world, India and South Africa asked for waiving of the copyright of vaccines made by developed countries so that other countries and other manufacturers can use it. Now in this article it talks about waiving the copyrights of Covaxin. Given the involvement of taxpayers' money in the development of Covaxin, the government has a stake in its intellectual property right or copyright. The writer goes on to say that the government should not only transfer Covaxin's technology to domestic pharmaceutical companies to boost national supplies but also offer it to foreign corporations. So it basically says that giving up the intellectual property rights of Covaxin will help us to develop more number of vaccines and hence meet the requirements in the Indian market. Next article is no learning from Spanish flu. Spanish flu lasted for 2 years in 3 waves with 500 million people infected and 50 million deaths. Even though we had history warning us, most countries did not take any active measures to contain virus after first wave. So most of the countries went easy on the restrictions after the first wave was over and in turn had to pay a huge price by having a very severe second wave. And even during Spanish flu, it can be seen that the second wave was more devastating than others. India also had the opportunity to learn from the mistakes of other countries as well as from the past Spanish flu. But India also opened up too soon after the first wave and several other factors, mismanagements, and currently we are at this stage in second wave. Next topic is prioritizing the right to life. So it basically discussed the recent verdict from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court on May 13 directed the centre and the state governments of Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh to provide free rations without insisting on ID proof to all migrant workers and to run kitchens providing free meals twice a day. The article talks about three problems. One, it did not extend the facility to country as a whole. Two, it did not extend the facility to cover cash payments by the state besides meals and ration. Third, it made the facility as a state largest than a right, which means that it was given out as a gift rather than a basic human right. Looking more into the article, it says that the most brazen violation of right to life by the government at present is its vaccine policy. 2 points you have to remember: vaccine is important to save life and should be available to all irrespective of their ability to pay. And an example, it talks about the privatized hospital system in USA. Even though it is largely privatized, the government recognized that it is their duty and the citizens' right to get vaccinated on time, and they are giving vaccines for free for every citizen in their country. Second point, the loss of livelihood that has come about during the second wave. So even though the Supreme Court talked about right to food, rations and meals, it didn't talk about the livelihood that was lost during the second wave. 90% of Indian workers, that is nearly 1 billion people, depend on informal activities. And many of these people lost their jobs during this pandemic. And the article goes on to suggest a cash transfer for at least 3 months, 7,000 rupees per household without formal employment. To make this possible, a 1.5% wealth tax levied on only the top 1% of households will be adequate to raise the amount. It also talks about a recent study called Hunger Watch by a large collective of social groups found that even 2 months after the lockdown was lifted last year, 2/3 families reported eating less than they did before the lockdown and a reduction in healthy food. For a quarter of the families surveyed, incomes had fallen by half. It also found that hunger was higher in urban India compared to rural areas. Next topic is creating a district. So who has the power to create a district? The state governments have the exclusive right to create a district. They can create a district by giving an executive order or by passing a law in the state assembly. So the main reason for creating a new district is for easier administration. However, changing the name of a district or a railway station requires to involve the central government. So if the state government wants to change the name of a district, then the procedure is to send a request to the central government, which will be sent to Ministry of Earth Sciences, Intelligence Bureau, Department of Post, Geographical Survey of India, and Railway Ministry seeking their clearance. Once they receive the no objection certificate, they can change the name. The government website says that India has 718 districts currently. Now we come to the vocabulary building section. We look at 5 different words. First word is acrimony. It means bitterness or ill feeling. Second one is irascible, a tendency to be easily angered. Third one is largesse, generosity in bestowing money or gift upon others. Fourth one is lacuna, a gap or unfilled space. Last one is reneged, go back on a promise or a contract. I hope this video was useful. If it was, consider subscribing to this channel and sharing it to others. Stay safe and see you again.